Hi everyone, it's Kate Luella here, and I've got an interview now coming up with Mary Blackburn of easyglutenfreeliving.com, a blog, obviously, about gluten-free. She has an interesting story. In this interview, Mary explains how she got started blogging about gluten-free many years ago after a diagnosis when she was a young adult, and she was inspired by Lynn Terry, who is from clicknews.com, a forum that both Mary and I are on. That's how I came across Mary. She's a delightful person to talk to. It's interesting hearing her journey with gluten-free living and blogging in general, and how she defines herself as a part-time blogger at the moment. But of course, like most bloggers, she would like to go full-time and earn a full-time wage from it. So she's working on her product range of eBooks and so forth, and that's one of the many things that we talked about in this interview. We also talk about her analytics of her site, we talk about her subscribers, we talk about her social media strategy, and she lets us in on a secret about what she's got planned for next year, which is very exciting. So don't forget to put a review on iTunes of Blogger Interviews podcast if you enjoyed this show, or you're quite welcome to leave a comment on the blog bloggerinterviewspodcast.com, and it'd be great to hear from some of you who are listening to this about what you think about it. Okay, so without further ado, here's the interview with Mary. Thanks for talking to me today, Mary. How are you going?
Very well, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Now, you're over in the US, aren't you? Now, you were telling me before, do you want to tell the listeners where you are that you're living? Because it's out in the country or something, isn't it?
Yes, I live about 50 miles north of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is a major city in western Pennsylvania.
Okay. So now you're there with your family, obviously your husband and so forth. So are you working from home at the moment, or are you going out as well doing work, or?
I work with my husband. He's a locksmith, and so we own our own business, and I do that during the day, and then I do my online stuff at night.
Wow. Okay. A lot of bloggers do that. They have like two jobs. Although they don't consider blogging a job, but still. So look, I really want to ask you very quickly, how do you define yourself? And I'm talking about, because do you define yourself as a blogger or an online marketer or self-employed? Like, how would you, define yourself?
Right now, I define myself as a blogger. I tell people that I'm a blogger.
Right.
Yeah, I don't feel qualified to call myself anything else just yet.
Yeah. So I wonder, like when you hear people say I'm a professional blogger, how do you see that as a profession? Do you see that as something when they're earning money, then they're professional, or when would you define yourself as a professional blogger?
If I could do this full time and make enough money to not have to work outside of the home, then I would consider myself a professional blogger.
Okay. So there's two things there, full-time and income. But what about just income and not full-time for part-time, but full-time income?
That would be nice.
That would be all right. That would be a smart professional blogger.
Yes.
I get it. Okay, so but can I ask you now, what's the name of your blog?
It is easyglutenfreeliving.com.
Okay. Now, is that your only blog?
No, I have a couple of other blogs, but I really haven't been doing anything with them lately.
Sorry, are they on the same niche or?
No, they're well, the one is called Country Mile Commute, and it was just kind of telling about my life here where I live and running back and forth from country from because my husband's business is actually in the city. So we drive into Pittsburgh every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just my crazy life from country to city.
Right. So really, like something like Country Mile Commute, that's going to be like a personal blog, isn't it? Really, you're just.
Yeah, for the most part, yes.
Yeah. So have you monetized that at all or not?
No. I haven't even blogged on there very much. I started it and then I stopped because I got so busy with gluten-free living that I just didn't have the time.
Yeah. Now, gluten-free living is an interesting niche to me because I know it's a really big niche. And to have glutenfreeliving.com is a pretty good domain. So, look, tell me about when you got into this. When did you start blogging and sort of what got you into it, and why did you choose the gluten-free?
I've been a celiac since 1988. I have an intolerance to gluten, which is found in wheat, rye, barley, and some oats. And I say some oats because of cross-contamination. If they're strictly a gluten-free oat, then most celiacs can tolerate those. But if they have been cross-contaminated with wheat or rye or barley, then they have gluten in them, and you can't tolerate them.
Right. Okay. So now, is it only celiacs that can't eat gluten-free? Is there other reasons people go on to gluten-free diets?
There are, and before I started this blog, I just thought of celiacs. I mean, because I couldn't fathom why anybody would want to go on this diet, because number one, it's expensive, and number two, it's hard.
Mm,
But I have had people contact me because they have fibromyalgia,
right.
and they have gone on this diet, and it seems to help with the pain. I've had people contact me because they have children or grandchildren that have
Autism.
autism.
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah, I know that one. Yeah,
and
so go on. Yep.
there's there's no actual quote unquote scientific study that says yes, that helps,
Mm,
but I've had a lot of parents say that again, that yes, it helps.
yeah,
So
yeah. There's books written about that. So absolutely. But whenabouts did you start out? So when was this? You said you've been a celiac since what, you were young, was it?
well, I was 28 when I was diagnosed.
Okay.
But I didn't start my blog until '09.
Okay.
And I went I met Lynn Terry, who has a blog as well. But I heard her on a webinar about a project called NAMS, Niche Affiliate Marketing System.
Mm-hmm.
And I told my husband, as I was listening to it, I told my husband, I said, this is something I need to go to. If I'm going to try to be serious, this is something I need to go to.
So this is back in 2009.
Yes.
Wow. So you've known Lynn since way back then.
Yes.
Wow, that's fantastic. Because of course, that's where I met you on the forum. We should have said that, but anyway, go on. We'll move on. So clicknews.com. Yeah. Anyway, so you
And
went to this session, or
I did. I went to the NAMS in August of '09, and I met Nicole Dean, and who has NicoleOnTheNet.com, and I met Suzanne Myers, who has hillbillyhousewife.com, who I've guest blogged on for several years now.
wow.
But I didn't have a niche when I went there. I knew I wanted to do something online, but I didn't know what.
Okay.
So, and NAMS is what I haven't been there for several years now. I went to three of them, but I haven't been lately. But it was very laid back. And the one thing about NAMS is you had to be able to, the speakers had to be available to the attendees after classes to
Okay.
talk with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I knew I knew Nicole and I knew Susanna, not personally, but I had read their blogs and I had followed them.
Right.
And so when I got there, I recognized them and I said, "Oh my gosh, you're Nicole Dean." And they are just such cool people. They were like, "Oh, well, come on in and have a seat and talk to us." And so we got to talking and they asked me what my niche was. And I said, well, I really don't have one. And they were asking me, questions and stuff. And I started telling them that I had celiac disease and this and that. And they said, that's your niche. And I'm like, really?
Ah,
Oh, yeah. And Susanna said, I have people emailing me all the time wanting to know, what can they eat? How can they do this? That's how I ended up with my niche. Was
wow.
They basically told me that that's what I needed to do.
Right.
And
So that's in 2009. And did you go straight to a WordPress blog? Like, how did you actually start out? Where did you?
I st- I
Yeah.
started out with a WordPress blog because that was the easiest thing. I did not know anything about blogs. I did not have a blog
Yep.
before that. Actually, my first toe in the water with an online business was Herbalife, which did not turn out so well
Right.
in '04. So I knew nothing about blogging.
Uh-huh.
So everybody that I spoke with said, do a WordPress blog. It's basically just what you see is what you get. You type in there, and I still do not know any HTML.
No,
All
no.
of my blog is totally typed into
The,
the
the standard
WordPress.
template.
Yes, yes.
That's right. A few free plugins. So this is interesting. Now, did you go and learn it yourself, or did you take a little course to learn it?
No, I pretty much did it on my own.
Great. Okay. Yeah, so did I. I mean, and then you go to YouTube and you get stuck, don't you? I mean,
Yes.
it's not the end of the world. Okay, so let's talk about this for a minute. So you've got this awesome site up, Gluten Free Niche, and glutenfreeliving.com. Now, do you do much with things like Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus? Where are you going with your social networking with this?
I have a Facebook page, easyglutenliving.com.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and whenever I, if I remember, whenever I put up a new blog post, I will put it on Twitter and I will put it on Facebook.
Right.
I know I need to be doing more of that because I really see a difference whenever I do that. I see a difference with the traffic
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to my site, but I right now I just don't have the time.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
um,
So do you watch your analytics at all, like Google and things like that?
no.
No, it's not. This is quite common answer. It's okay. It's okay. It's
I
not
know.
it's not common from the internet marketers, by the way. It's like the opposite. Like, of course, I look at it daily, you know. But for bloggers, we go, no, we're just blogging, you know.
I know what pages bring in more traffic.
Right,
I have a page that is called I have celiac disease. What can I eat?
right,
And it's basically a list of over-the-counter foods that you can buy right off the store shelf that is gluten-free without touting the gluten-free mark. It's basically any kind of meat that is straight, like beef, chicken, anything that doesn't have any gravies on them. Or the thing you have to watch lunch meats and that kind of thing at the deli because some of those can be have hidden gluten in them. You
right.
have to watch turkeys. Thanksgiving in the United States is coming up, and butterball turkeys are not gluten free.
Right.
They are injected with something,
Yeah.
and it's got gluten in it.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
um,
So they've got to go really all organic and all that sort of stuff then, don't they?
pretty much, honeysuckle white turkeys here in the United States, they are gluten free.
Right. Okay.
That's the only brand that I buy. But like chicken, if you get a fresh chicken or fresh, you know, beef roast or steak,
Mm-hmm.
most of the time you don't have to worry about those. Now,
Mm.
I was at the grocery store with my husband the other day and they had chicken roasters that I was going to buy, and I picked it up and I flipped it over and looked at the label,
Mm.
and it had chicken broth in it.
Mm.
And believe it or not, chicken broth can have wheat flour in it.
Yeah.
So I basically make all of my own chicken, turkey, vegetable broth. I don't buy any of that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It is hard to do a strict gluten-free diet. I mean, we tried it when my daughter was diagnosed autism. I didn't notice a big difference. That's why I went off it eventually, because it's like turning your life upside down. Suddenly we had to go to special shops to buy food, and whenever we went out, it was like, oh no, we better not go there because we can't guarantee they'll have gluten free. It was really hard work at first. Do you find
yeah.
it gets easier over time to cope?
Yes, and it has gotten a whole lot easier since when I was diagnosed.
Uh,
I was diagnosed basically back in the dark ages. Nobody had ever heard of it. It wasn't anything that was out in front. Uh, People, when you said you had celiac disease, they're like, "What?"
what's that? Yeah,
Yeah, and my
yeah.
grandmother who, for her whole entire life made homemade bread, that which I loved,
Mm,
was like, "You're allergic to bread? That's the
yeah.
staff of life. How can you be allergic to bread?" And it's like, well,
Mm,
so, people just didn't understand. And it has gotten a lot easier now because you've got all these Hollywood stars basically coming out. You've got Elizabeth Hasselbeck coming out. She does gluten free, although I don't think she's a celiac. She just does a gluten free diet because she feels better on it.
right.
And you've got the one gal on, I don't know if you have this show we're in Australia,
Yeah.
but Blue Bloods is a big show here on Friday nights, and the one gal that was on that show is a celiac. And
Is she a
I just
celiac in the show or in real life?
in real life.
Okay.
And I just read that they kicked her off the show because her diet was a major problem on the set. So
Oh, that's a
I
bit
think she
strange.
yeah, I think she's got a lawsuit going on there.
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
but yeah, it's gotten a lot easier.
Yeah, and I guess all the cookbooks around too, and obviously the internet with sites like yours, it's easier.
Yes, yeah.
They can get more information. So, look, tell me a little bit about how. So you've had it go since 2009. Do you think it's a blog that you could eventually live a full-time income off? Is it growing in its monetization?
It is, and I want to add more of my own products to it. Like, I have another book coming out soon, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. It has to do with celiac or gluten free in a roundabout kind of way. The title of it is called Create an Old Fashioned Christmas.
Oh,
And it basically talks about my disappointment with how recently Christmas has become so commercialized.
yeah.
But in it, I also have it. I don't have a full blown cookbook in there, but I do have hors d'oeuvre recipes and drink recipes. That some are alcoholic and some are just for the whole family.
So is that
But
gluten-free, that Christmas book? Is that
yes,
it is? Right.
all of the hors d'oeuvres in there are gluten free.
Right. Okay. So are you promoting it like a gluten-free Christmas book? Is that your angle with it?
You know what? I really hadn't thought about that. I guess I assumed that if people thought it was, if they saw it on my website, they would know that it was gluten free. But I probably should.
But are you going to sell
Um,
it other places like Kindle and things like that?
I don't know if it'll be on Kindle. I would like to put it on CreateSpace just because
Right.
my mother, who is 89,
Yeah.
I tell her, "Oh, I have a cookbook already, but it's an e-cookbook," and she doesn't get that. Um,
Right.
so I would like to put my Christmas book on Kindle on CreateSpace just so I can take it to her and say, "Here, Mom, here's a book that this is actually something you can hold in your hand and read."
Yeah, so the fiscal aspect is a minority here. It's really about mum.
Yes.
I totally understand. I get that. Now, your current book, though, Gluten Free Get Togethers, is that only available on your blog?
No, it
Okay.
is. I mean, there's a link to it from on my blog, but you can also go into Clickbank, which
Okay, so it's
is
listed on Clickbank. So it's not on Amazon or Kindle.
no, not yet.
Oh.
No, not yet. I actually thought about putting it on Kindle.
How much do you sell it for?
It's $10.
Well, you could sell that on Kindle easy. ten
Yeah,
dollars for a gluten free book like that would I think would be fine. It's I mean Kindle really needs to be a bit cheaper, but it's quite a big niche. I can see how that would go quite well. How do you find it sells on Clickbank?
it's actually selling fairly well. It took a while because I had some glitches with Clickbank and I had to change it. But I find when I do guest posts on other people's blogs, then I
Okay.
get an influx of other people.
Hmm.
But I've from to my list, I have a list of people that sign up for my newsletter, and every once in a while I will run a sale, and I always get a lot of people that buy it who have not, you know, for whatever reason thought about buying it before, but when it's on sale, it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
it's
get that.
mindset, isn't it? But let me ask you then, when you put on sale, what do you do? Like half price or?
Like my last sale was on the 4th of July, and I put it up for, I believe, 5 days for $4.
Right. And how many did you convert on that like discount price?
I
Was it
think
big?
there were, yeah, there was quite a few. There were about 10 or 15 people that actually,
Bought it from that promotion.
yeah.
Wow, okay, that's great. So when you sign up, now this is the good thing about your blog is that you're very smart. I assume you got this tip from Lynn Terry because you know what she's like. She's on the ball. And she's got your sign-in box here, or Weber, right at the top. Sign up for your copy of the Gluten-Free Gazette. I don't even
Yes.
know what that is. What is that? And your gluten-free goodies.
The Gluten Free Gazette is a newsletter that goes out about every other week. Sometimes
Okay.
it's a little longer, sometimes it's a little shorter if I've got something that's actually exciting going on.
Yeah, yeah.
And then at Christmas time, I also, like last year at Christmas, I sent out a little cookbook of candy. It was just basically Christmas candy and that kind of thing.
So that's an ebook when you say you're sending it out.
Yes, yes,
I got you. So you create it specially for your list.
yes.
Ah, that's a great idea. How long have you had the subscription on your site, the little box? Has it been since 2009 or is that something that's come in a bit later?
It may not have been right away, but it was pretty close after that. I'd say maybe I started my blog in like September of '09,
Mm,
and it may have been like the beginning of 2010
okay.
that
Yeah. And so with your list, do you know roughly how many you've got or not, or do you watch that?
I've got over 700
Okay.
right
And
now.
that's to get your gazette. Now, do you monetize to that list at all? Do you ever send out special offers? I mean, obviously you would have sent out the discounted price for the book.
Yeah.
But beyond that,
Um,
do anything like affiliate sales or
a little bit, but not a whole lot, not as much as I probably should.
right? Well, you don't have to. I mean, there's some people that would never do that. You know? So, I mean, that's just strategy if that's something you do. So, really, the way you go with this blog is you set it up and you've got your one book, which you sell from your site and you sell it through Clickbank. And you're now working on your next book, which is your Christmas
Mhm.
book. And are you going to just continue that strategy? Just build up a collection of gluten-free kind of relative books and just keep promoting them. Is that really your strategy, or is there something else I'm missing? Or
Well, I love to write. So, yeah, that's always going to be a part of what I do.
yeah,
But you'll be one of the first to hear this. Your listeners will be one of the first ones to hear this. But I'm going back to school
hmm.
in January to get my certificate in health and wellness as a health and wellness coach.
Wow. That's fantastic. So will you incorporate that to this blog or start a new one for that or
I will incorporate it into this one just because that's what I know.
right. And you've already got a database. Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? Eventually, I may start a different one, or I don't know. I guess I'll see where it takes me. This course is a 1 year course.
Part-time or online or
It's online. Yeah,
okay,
it's
right.
online. I'm really excited about that.
I know, I can tell. So when you get that, I mean, obviously, is that somewhere you want to take your direction of your career now?
Yes,
Okay. And so will that involve like online career or offline or both maybe?
I'm thinking both.
Okay.
Um, just because I get a lot of emails with people wanting to know about, what can I do? How can I do this? So I kind of coach people right now for free,
Hmm, hmm.
which it drives my husband crazy.
Right. Just don't
So,
tell him. That's the best policy I have here.
um, but eventually, yeah, when I get my certificate, I will probably be offering, 1 hour coaching online. And also I'm thinking about maybe, going into health clubs, because basically this will be not only just a gluten-free type coaching, although that will probably always be my main thing. just because I live that.
Yeah.
I'm also looking to help other people with other problems, other, either other allergies, food allergies, or, weight problems.
Yeah.
So
Anything that's sort of healthy living or gluten-free living. Are you going to niche it down to gluten-free or just keep it more broad, healthy?
I'll probably at first niche it down to gluten free,
Yeah.
just like I said, just because that's what I know.
That's where it is now. So that's a good place to go anyway. Yeah. Yeah. And do you know who your target demographic is? Do you know, like, I mean, obviously anybody can be a gluten-free person, even a child, right? But that doesn't mean they were going to contact you or go through your blog and sign up. Do you have any way of gauging who your demographic is? Do you do surveys or anything, or do you just go by comments or?
I've never done a survey. I go by comments. I have a lot of parents of
Right.
children, gluten-free
Okay.
children,
Yeah.
and I have a lot of actual women more so than men, although I've had a couple of men leave comments, but mostly it's women
Yeah.
that, whether they're commenting because of their husband or, or a child.
Yeah, I wonder if that's because it's a food thing and women kind of take that demographic a bit more. If you were blogging about the latest app for Apple, you'd probably find a little bit more men.
Yeah.
So with your target demographic, I guess, do you write specifically for them? So now that you believe it's parents, when you're blogging, are you really honing in on that, or are you just writing how you want to write?
I write on different things. Like in September, I have written on back to school kind of things, like how to send your child back to school if they're a celiac or if they're eating gluten free and you're worried
Mhm.
about sending them back to school. I've written on how to talk with teachers and approach teachers, and how to maybe set up a package of information to give to your teacher, to your child's teacher, so that they can understand what your child can and cannot eat, or that kind of thing. I've also blogged about um, gluten in art.
Oh, in paints and stuff.
Yes, in
Right.
clay and paint and glue and
Because it's in Play-Doh, isn't it? Because I've seen the gluten-free Play-Doh recipe.
yes, yes.
So I get that. So now look, I'm looking on your blog then. So basically you you weren't really decisive on you blogging for your target demographic, but for what you just said then, you blog for your demographic because that's parents and children relatives. So that's I can see where you're going with that, which is great. So look, I'm looking at your latest post and it says the lucky winner of Living Without's holiday issue, but so is this competition? Is this something you do regularly, or what was the thinking behind running a little competition for a magazine?
That was the first time I've ever run a contest, and I just thought, with the holidays coming up, I bought that for myself personally,
Right.
and I thought, well, I'll just pick up an extra one and give it away on my blog to generate a little interest, and also just to give somebody, that extra little information, because especially if you're a new celiac, Thanksgiving can actually be one of the hardest holidays, because you've got the Thanksgiving turkey, and you've got stuffing, which is made from the bread, and a lot of people stuff their turkey, and you don't even think that you're now you've now contaminated your turkey with gluten if you've
Yeah.
stuffed it with gluten filled bread.
Yeah.
So that was basically my thought behind that. I just thought I'd just give that to somebody, and
Yeah. Yeah.
uh
Yeah, no, I can see all that. No, that's excellent. And then basically they've commented to enter. Now the only thing is I'm thinking if you pick this up on a newsstand, which is what you said, I think, so you have to send that in the mail. So did it worry you if someone won and they lived in, maybe China? Or you just didn't care? No, because
no,
I'm
I
thinking
didn't
that could
I didn't
happen.
even think about that.
Yeah. Okay. So you were hoping the US people would only enter. Well, that's
Well,
always my concern when I've had e-commerce stores and I run comps. I think to myself, logistically, if someone wins and it's a big thing and it's they're in the US, I got to get it over there. But anyway, obviously I'm a minority. Most people don't think about that.
Well, my daughter lived in Scotland for 4 years, so I'm kind of used to sending stuff away.
Look, and I love it. Look, I'm seeing here when you've done your comp too, and then you've still referred back to your book as well. So, it's very smart how you've done it. Like, you've made it all relative and, and something different. I like that. I think that's really smart. And then you've got your Books by Mary actual page on your blog. So that's obviously going to have a new Christmas one, hopefully before Christmas. You better help them finish.
Yes.
Especially if you can do a great space, because it takes a while, to get those proofs in.
Yeah. I'm not worried so much about getting it on CreateSpace before Christmas. I'm
Okay.
more on just online.
Yeah. Yeah.
The CreateSpace is kind of a second.
I have to ask you this then. So, how are you creating this book? And look, there's no right or wrong way. I just want to know how you do it. Do you actually sit there and type it up on Word and then save it as a PDF and all that sort of stuff? What do you do?
Well, I do. I used to write it longhand in a notebook.
Right.
um, Over the summer, I was out on my deck and I was working out there on my book and I was typing away in Word.
Yeah.
And apparently I didn't save it.
Oh, no.
And I unplugged my computer, brought it in to the house, and I'm like,
Oh, dear.
where is what I just did?
That's a shocker.
Oh, I could have just sat down and cried.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do. I type everything into Word, and then for the most part,
Yeah.
sometimes I will write things in a notebook. I will still do that and do it
Yeah.
longhand in a notebook
Yeah.
when I'm out with my husband or whatever, because after we close our store in the afternoon, and we close it at 2 in the afternoon, he's out on the road and does house calls.
Yeah.
And most of the time I'm with him and not necessarily helping him, just basically with him.
Right.
So I sit just because, living 50 miles away from our store doesn't,
Yeah.
there's no sense in taking 2 vehicles to work every day.
No.
So we're together pretty much 24/7.
Mm.
So,
I hope you get along.
yeah, we do. It's a good thing. 35 years.
That would drive me nuts. That would be like torture for me.
So sometimes I'll take my notebook and I'll write while I'm in the van, or I've taken my laptop with me, and my poor laptop is a dinosaur as well. So
But they're often the best, aren't they?
yeah, well, yeah, and the battery doesn't always last the longest, but my
Mm.
husband bought a little converter that you plug into the cigarette lighter, and I can plug my computer into that, and
Perfect.
yeah, it works out great.
Having a locksmith for a husband pays off occasionally. He's
Yes.
crafty. Yeah. So, okay. So basically, you're writing it, you put it onto Word, you save it as a PDF. The one question I've got then left before we wind up is the images. Are you taking photos of your, because you said you had recipes. So I'm thinking, are there images in there as well? And are they your photos? How did you deal with that?
There are some images of food in there. Not all of the recipes have pictures.
Right.
And I did take the pictures myself of the food ones. There's 2 pictures in there of my Christmas trees, because every other year I have 2 Christmas trees. One is at least a 16-foot one that I put in my living room, and that's the one that goes up every other year,
Right.
because Christmas is always, my sisters and I switch off as to whose house Christmas is at.
Right.
And on the years when Christmas is at my house, I have a Christmas tree that's about an 8-foot one in my family room. And then I have the biggest I think we had was like a 16 and a half in my living room, because
Right.
I have a cathedral ceiling.
Right.
So there's a picture of each one of those trees in there. And then I have some old-fashioned pictures that I have found online that I put in there as well
Right.
at the chapter beginnings.
Right. Okay. No, that's good. I mean, it's always easier if you use your own images, because you don't have to worry about royalties and stuff. But you can get a lot of royalty-free images now online. Just got to know where to get them. So, no, I understand. It's good. Excellent. Well, look, I'm just trying to wind up. Is there anything else you want to cover before we finish up or discuss?
Not that I can think of.
Because we've already gone 40 minutes.
Sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine. You know, it's time flies, isn't it? It's really quite funny. Do you have any tips for someone who wants to start out, particularly blogging about food or even about gluten-free, but it's probably a bit too specific, but even just about food or in general, do you have any tips for them or advice?
Just do it. It's fun. It's,
Right.
you don't have to be perfect. When I was in high school, my 10th grade creative writing teacher told me that I really didn't have any talent. So
Uh,
uh, I was kind of hesitant to start. And you know what? I'm having fun.
yeah.
My husband will say, that's not really proper English. And I'm like, I don't care. He said, is that a word? My favorite thing is, I don't know if you've heard of Rachel Ray,
Yep.
and her EVOO, which is now in a dictionary.
What's
But I
EVVO?
extra virgin olive oil is her thing.
Oh,
That's
okay.
that's what she says. But so she made that up. And so I have a word that I made up. It's glutinous, meaning food that has gluten in it. And my husband's
Okay.
like, "Is that even a word?" And I said, "No, but you know what? Maybe someday it'll be in a dictionary and you'll know that I'm the one that started that word."
I love it. Glutinous. Very
Yes.
glutinous.
So,
Yeah.
but I just have fun with it. I don't care if it's proper English. I write my blog basically the way I talk. So,
Well, I think one of the advantages of blogging is you don't have a boss. So I think that gives a lot of people freedom to feel good about what they're doing.
right.
It also means we don't get paid, but
Yeah,
that's the flip side.
unfortunately.
But of course, you can do what you're doing, get some products in there, and that's only going to grow. The more products you can put in there, the more money you'll make. So, I think you're great how you've got your sign in box right up the top and everything, and with a great incentive to sign up. And the incentive isn't a free book of yours that you're trying to sell. So it's something unique to what you're already monetizing. So it's really smart. So I can see why that's gone well. So, but
Cool.
yeah. So well, look, I want to thank you for talking to us today, and or talking to me, even if it is 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night where you are. You did very well, Mary.
Thank you. I had fun.
Yeah, I guess we'll catch up with each other soon on the forum.
Yes.
Excellent. Oh, see, there's the dog. Oh, I told you there's the
Well,
dog.
at least she was quiet for the time of that we were on.
Yeah, the mailman just came. It's
Uh,
little things, and then they go off. Oh dear. Anyway, at least we got through most of the interview. All right, thanks, Mary. I'll talk to you later.
okay. Thank you, Kate.
Okay, see you, mate.
Bye bye.
Bye.